call this meeting to order. And we'll start with a moment of reflection.
Let us be mindful of the needs of all our citizens and advance only those causes that will ensure peace and harmony in our community now and always.
We'd like to begin our land acknowledgement. We'd like to begin by acknowledging that today is the land traditionally used by the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and the Shinotan people. We acknowledge the enduring presence and the deep traditional knowledge and philosophies of the indigenous peoples with whom we share this land today. Are there any declaration of a pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none, is Laura on? Okay. So we have some minutes. I need a motion that the following minutes be adopted as presented. So minutes of November 27th, 2025 budget meeting, minutes of December 4th, 2025 budget meeting, minutes of December 9th, 2025 council meeting, minutes of December 18th budget meeting. I have a motion. Those Councillor Brick, second by Councillor Herget. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor? And that's carried. Receiving petitions, no presentations. And we have a public meeting. So I'll need a motion that the council of the meeting adjourn to hold a public meeting with respect to the 2026 capital and operating budget. Moved by Councillor Wagner, second by Councillor Brick, all in favor, and that's carried. Would the clerk please advertise the method of, advise to the method of advertising?
Notice of the public meeting was placed on the township website.
Okay. Any person who wants further notice of the passage of the bylaw should give in writing their full name, address, and postal code to the clerk prior to leaving the meeting. No one here. Would the Director of Corporate Services, Jeff Dick, bring forward the presentation, please?
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. The following presentation is a condensed version of the 2026 budget that's been previously distributed. As we walk through the presentation, please feel free to ask any questions or ask for any clarifications. We'll start with the capital budget. So the capital budget for 2026 is $3.8 million. Purchases planned for 2026 span IT, fire, building, public works, and recreation. The bulk of the spend, about 65%, is within public works. Fire also accounts for a good amount of the spend, and that was for a specific truck that was approved by council earlier in 2025, in August 2025. The public works spend is focused on roadwork, about $1 million in roadwork planned for 2026, and also culverts and bridges in the amount of about $1 million as well. Road projects, the large road projects include Lindun Lane, community center parking at around $300,000, and Hessenstrasse resurfacing of about $500,000. Culvert work includes Moser Young Road replacement at around $600,000. And bridge work includes Road 116 rehabilitation at the cost of about $300,000. This slide highlights the source of the funding for the various capital projects being proposed in 2026. 100% of the capital spend is funded by reserves. Reserve funds are constantly monitored by the township leadership team to achieve long-term goals, provide flexibility, and maintain financial stability. This is more true today with the legal requirement for the township to prepare a comprehensive asset management plan. This comes with the required annual review review to council that will occur prior to July 1st. So not only do we do the asset management plan every year, we'll be in front of you giving you an update in and around July 1st. This year, I think we're going to be a little bit ahead of schedule. Probably looking at February, March for that. Any questions on capital before we move to operating? So this slide is revenue at a very high level. After some excellent discussions on November 28th, December 5th, and 18th between council and staff, a draft operating budget was settled on. The total budget is 3.27 million, up from 12.32 million in 2025. The township increase is funded by growth in the municipality and a reasonable tax increase of 3.49%. I also want to highlight that user fees as a percentage of total revenue is up in 2026, driven by recreation programming. So we saw the total taxation drop from 65 to 64, and user fees go up from 18 to 19. I thought that was a positive shift. I just wanted to highlight. So carrying on from the last slide, grants. Most of our grant dollars come from the OMPF grant. And this chart, which we shared last year, but we've increased it for 2026, just shows the growth in that particular funding over the years. And we've seen funding, it has grown from, or has grown about 27.8% since 2021. So this is the only unconditional grant that the Township of Wellesley receives. This means that these funds are allowed to be used to offset operating expenses instead of having to be used for specific purposes. In the capital portion of the budget presentation, you saw that our other two major grants. The grants shown in the capital budget must be used for specific types of capital expenses and therefore are not included as part of the overall operating budget income. So in particular, that's the OCIF and the CCBF, or the gas tax. This slide highlights the income from the various departments. So some department revenue is self-explanatory, such as recreation, building, and planning. Others are not so self-explanatory. The highest source of income from the municipality is the tax levy. So that's a large green slice of that pie, 64%. The grants in the yellow grant includes the OMPF, as well as a small grant for employing a drainage superintendent. But 99% of that is the OMPF. And this drainage superintendent, that grant is 50% of the annual cost of the superintendent. General revenue includes items such as penalties, dividends from hydro, interest, solar panel income, and other user fees such as tax certificates, marriage licenses, etc. Bylaw and animal control income is derived from parking tickets, dog tags, and kennel fees. And fire department revenue comes from boundary agreements, fire inspections, motor vehicle collision billing, and burn permits. Moving on to operating expenditures. So the pie chart you see on the screen shows the breakout of the transfers to reserves. So we've just broken it up really at a high level. So you see total operating expenses, and then we've parsed out the transfers to reserves and also the long-term debt repayments. As you can see, our debt costs are very low compared to our overall operating expenses. The transfers to reserves are tax dollars that are used to fund capital projects, both in the current year and future years. This is the number in 2026 that is driving the levy increase. And this is a number that is driven by the comprehensive asset management plan that was undertaken by the township with the help of Watson. This was, we had a lot of conversations during the budget meetings on this topic in particular. Next slide. This chart shows the operating expenses by department. The general government expenses include council and committee expenses, administration, IT, and finance departments. The other expenses are self-explanatory. As you might expect, the spending on public works and recreation represent a significant portion of the overall budget. This is driven by people costs, so wages and benefits, given the relative size of these departments. Also contributions to reserves to achieve long-term goals, provide flexibility, and maintain financial stability. So if we look at public works in particular, wages and benefits was about 1.5 million of the total, and the contribution to reserves was 1.3 million in 2026, or will be 1.3. So these two combined are responsible for 64% of the total public works spend. And the other large expenses in public works are gravel resurfacing, which is about 370,000 in 2026, and winter maintenance, which is about 200,000 in 2026. If we look at recreation, recreation wages and benefits are about 1.5 million in 2026, and their contribution to reserves are about 400,000. So those two expenses represent about 54% of their entire budget. Other large expenses in recreation, or the other main expense, is the debt cost of about $900,000. So if we look at those three pools, that's a considerable amount of the entire recreation budget. The next two slides look at operating income again. So we're going to revisit operating income and the expenses. What it does, though, is it shows you our spend in 2024, and then our budget in 2025, and then 2026. So you can see some of the shifts in the numbers. There aren't that many shifts to highlight. I'm highlighting a couple here. So the increase in the income on our revenue side is a lot of it's just driven by our taxes. So our taxes went up from 7.5 million to 7.9 million and are now at 8.4 million. And the other one that I want to call out is recreation. So recreation has grown from about 1 million to just over 1.3 million. And that's driven, I think, by programming in the new recreation center, as well as other recreation facilities. So our revenue has grown 6% in 2025, and then a further 7.7% in 2026. Operating expenses, because our budget's balanced to zero, you're going to see the same 7.7% increase in the budget in 2026. The increase you're seeing here, there's a couple that I want to call out. The main one is, it's circled, it's the public works, and what's driving the increase in public works is the increase in our contributions to our reserves. So we're going from 3.8 to almost 4.4. We've increased our contributions to reserves about $400,000. And that's in line with the recommendations in the asset management report. And then the other large increase, and it's not coming from a single line. It's really the wages and benefits, which spans, every single department, where we're seeing an increase in wages, and because wages and benefits are a large portion of the overall township budget. When we have an increase from a dollar perspective, it's going to be significant because I think wages and benefits represent almost 60% of our total budget. So any increase is going to be significant in terms of dollars. So this budget delivers a tax increase of 3.486%, based on an average assessed value of $416,000. The annual increase in dollars is approximately $43, or $3.57 a month. And I just want to remind everybody that the 416 is not resale value. This valuation is based on the assessed value in 2016, which is considerably less than market. So to put things in perspective, I shared the next couple of slides last year, but I like just to share this with everyone because it to me, it highlights where we are relative to our neighbors. So as you can see, Wellesley taxes. So each one of these, so this is a comparison of regional residential property taxes by dwelling type. So for detached bungalows, the two-story home or senior executive home, Wellesley taxes are lower than the overall average and median in each residential class. Please note that I shared the same slide last year when the 2024 report was in draft form. The 2024 is now final. However, I was not able to get a copy of the 2025 draft report. I will mention, however, that our standing in each of these categories has likely stayed the same or improved based on our tax increase for 2026. Looking at the other tax increases for our neighboring municipalities, we are lower than majority of our neighbors. Township of Woolwich is, some of these aren't final yet, but Township of Woolwich is coming in at 7.8%. Wilmot is coming in at 9.7%. North Dumfries at 5.5%. Perth East at about 5.3%. And the one township that has a lower tax increase than what we're proposing here is the Township of Mapleton, that's at 3.1%. So I just wanted to highlight that. I think this chart puts everything into perspective of where Wellesley sits relative to our closest neighbors. Building on that, this slide calculates taxes as a percentage of household income. So looking at our close neighbors, Wellesley taxes as a percentage of household income are in line with our neighboring municipalities. So we come in at 3.18%, Woolwich a little bit lower, 3.09%, North Dumfries 3.03%, and Wilmot 3.23%. So we're in line with our neighbors and below the overall Waterloo Wellington average and median. And again, this information is from the same study. It's based on 2024. I wasn't able to get draft 2025 information. But I'll gladly share that information when it comes out and it's published. And that concludes the presentation. Is there any questions on anything that I spoke about?
Okay, questions from council? He's happy. Okay. So I got to read this. Are there any persons who wish, we don't have any online, so I don't have to read that. No, okay. So I need a motion now that the public meeting regarding the 2026 capital and operating budget is now adjourned and council meeting resumed. Moved by Councillor Herga, second by Councillor Brick. All in favor? And that's carried. I need a motion that the council rise and go into the committee of the whole to receive reports and recommendations. Moved by Councillor Wagner, second by Councillor Brick. All in favor? And that's carried. We'll move right down to admin and finance. And the first one is the budget motion, AF&P 1/2026. And the recommendation that the Council of the Township of Wellesley approve the 2026 proposed operating and capital budget, which provides for a 3.486 total tax levy increase of 281,147 after growth, which is inclusive of a 0.5% greening levy, and further that the Council of the Township of Wellesley hear 3 readings of the bylaw 2/2026. And mover for that, please, Councillor Herget, second by Councillor Brick. Any other discussion on the budget at this point? We put a lot of time and effort into this budget. I know, just can say thank you to staff for the amount of work that's been put into this. I think it's a budget that we can feel proud of. You know, we've preparing for the future with this. We've got significant money, significant dollars going into reserves. So looking forward, and I think we're taking care of our day-to-day challenges as well as we possibly can, as well as anybody else can, as far as that goes. So, any comments? Call a budget, call a question, all in favor, and that budget is passed. Thank you. And then we'll go to, did you have a comment? AF&P 2026. the electronic monitoring policy. Motion required. Recommendation that the Council of Township of Wellesley adopt the electronic monitoring policy dated January 5th, 2026. Have a mover for that, please. Councillor Wagner, second by Councillor Brick. And do we have?
I'll speak. Thanks, Mayor Nowak. The province of Ontario requires employers with 25 or more employees to have an electronic monitoring policy. Basically, it's just a written form where council approves and staff can then see all ways that the municipality can monitor their activities through electronic means. So things like internet usage, telephone usage, GPS in vehicles, things like that. So there's a full listing, and then we will do training with staff so that they're all fully aware of the various ways that they can be monitored once this policy is passed by council. So happy to take any questions.
Questions? Councillor Wagner.
So this is more just a policy. So it's not that we're putting cameras in anything at this time.
So there are dash cams going in our fleet vehicles. That has nothing to do with the policy itself. The policy is just a requirement of the province for it to be documented so that the staff are aware of how they can be monitored. But the installation of the cameras is not a result of the policy. The policy reflects the installation of the cameras, though.
Can I ask one? So just about the cameras then, are they also going into the fire trucks? You say the fleet.
Yes, we are planning on putting them in the fire trucks as well. We do have to prepare policies for all of the cameras, and fire trucks are even a little more sensitive because of the nature of the business that the fire trucks are responding to. So we have to be aware of privacy and sensitivity.
And dash only?
Yes.
Not interior?
No, it would show the driver as well.
Driver. Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Carter.
So the public works vehicles, they'll have a driver facing camera and audio recording as well?
Currently, we do not have audio recording, and there's no current plans of adding audio recording. The policy does state that we may have audio recording at some point, but there's no plan for that currently.
So there is a driver facing camera?
There is driver facing and forward facing.
So I done a little bit of research and I couldn't find any provincial or federal laws regarding this, but what I did find is that there should be driver consent. So what is what's the feeling of the drivers? Have they expressed concerns, or have you reached an agreement with the union, or?
So without getting too deep on it, yes, there are some concerns from the drivers themselves. However, there is no requirement that we've been made aware of anywhere that requires consent. It's a portion of the responsibility of working for the municipality, and it is for liability purposes is why the cameras are going in. They are not meant to be monitored on a regular basis whatsoever. There's basically 3 times we plan to monitor these, and that's the 3 C's. And Christian might have to help me with the 3 C's, but it's in the event of a collision, a claim, or a complaint. So if we get one of those 3 events occurring, then we will have to take a look at those cameras. Other than that, there's no intention of sitting there watching cameras.
Okay. Will there be some policy about that, or?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, that policy is being created. It's not complete yet, and the cameras are not active yet either.
Okay. I guess I'm concerned about the privacy if you're spending the day in the truck, having that camera, and in particular the voice recording. If you have a private conversation on, I just feel that it's a little bit of invasion of privacy, but.
So the cameras will only be active when the truck is running. So if someone is on a lunch break, has the truck shut off, the cameras will not be working. So if they're making a phone call at that time, there will be nothing recorded. And again, currently there is no audio recording being done on these cameras.
Okay.
We're certainly cognizant of privacy of our staff and want to be very respectful of that. And again, none of these videos are for public use. They are only for the event of one of those 3 C's happening.
There's, yeah, Lori has a question, I think.
Hi,
Lori?
Rick. So are these cameras going to be in all vehicles, all township vehicles? Like I know Shelley said about the fire trucks, are they also going to be in director vehicles and like it's across the board?
Yes, yeah, the plan is to have them in all vehicles that have an enclosed cab. So things like the lawnmowers and the gators, because they're not enclosed, they will not have them. And that's for weather purposes, but anything with an enclosed cab will have it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Lori, did you catch that? Did we lose her?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Not sure whether she would have got that. Lori? So maybe an internet problem?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, yes, I heard that. Thank you.
Did you get Rick's response, Lori?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Any other question, Lori? Any follow-up? Oh,
Sorry, let me just check my notes here. Oh, have there been any documented complaints or why is this? I mean, you said it was policy coming in, but have there been documented complaints about this kind of thing or?
Yeah, historically, we do get some complaints on an annual basis. It varies how much, and this gives us the ability in the event of court cases to be able to defend both the municipality and the driver by having video recording.
Okay, so the cameras facing the drivers,
Mhm.
that actually comes from like a policy from the Ontario government saying that they need to be put in? Or
No,
is it
not
more of
at
an
all.
insurance?
No, it's a risk management call. By having driver facing cameras, in the event that there's a collision, I'll use an example, and the other driver claims that our driver is on their cell phone, for example, the camera can dispel that claim and prove that our driver is innocent.
Okay, I think I have to kind of agree with Claude that it seems like an invasion of privacy with cameras facing someone. I know I wouldn't want a camera facing me all day in my job, but I realize that you have to have risk management and the cameras facing outwards makes total sense. I think it seems like a little bit of invasion.
okay. I'm going to step in for a minute. So it's a separate issue, I think, from the report. I think there's going to be, Rick had mentioned there'll be a report coming to council, correct me if I'm wrong, when these cameras are expected to go into the vehicles. At that time, we can discuss.
Yep, the camera use policy will have to come to council.
That'll come to council, so we can discuss that. The report that we have in front of us now is just, it's not an action item. It's really allows us to do these things if necessary or if we want. Have I got that?
Yeah, this policy is strictly for the purpose of informing our staff of the ways that they could be monitored, not the ways they are monitored, but the ways that we have the technical capabilities of monitoring.
Yeah. So just to follow up on Lori's concern, when the policy comes to council with regard to the cameras in the cabs, can that come to council before we actually purchase those cameras? So that we.
So the cameras aren't purchased;
Oh, they're
they're leased.
Well, they're leased. Okay.
So we just pay a monthly fee for the usage of the cameras.
Okay.
So that's there is no purchase cost.
Okay. Lori, is that okay with you at this point?
Yep, that sounds reasonable. Thank you.
Not there. Okay, I'm going to go to Council Brooke. You had a question.
So a couple things. So just following up on that. So prior to the cameras going live, there will be a policy that comes back to council. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So at that time, the cameras specifically will be brought forward in a policy.
Yes, that policy will be strictly for the cameras.
Okay. I did have someone reach out in regards to the cab facing camera and audio with concerns. I think having this discussion, it's been clarified that that will be discussed at a further time, that is this policy allows it or puts on the table that it can be done. However, no cameras are active and no cameras or audio will be active until a policy is passed in whatever capacity.
That's correct.
Clarify that. So
That's correct.
anyone questioning that, they're not active and they won't be active until a policy is in place.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Brick.
Do we have a timeline of when that might be coming back to council?
I hope to have it here at the next committee meeting, which is January 27th.
And in terms of the installation of the cameras, what are we going to have all cameras in vehicles this year, or is it like a phased approach?
The plan is to have them all in this year. The non-fire vehicles are being done first, and then the fire vehicles will be done second.
Okay. So just to reiterate or reread the policy or the recommendation, the Council of Township of Wellesley adopt the electronic monitoring policy dated January 5th, 2026. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that? So I'll call a question. All in favor? And that's carried. And that's it for admin and finance. We'll move over to recreation. Councillor Wagner.
Thank you. Rec 1, 2026, dog park level of service motion required. Recommendation that the Council of the Township of Wellesley approve a level of service for township-owned dog parks that includes locking all gates with the exception of the main entrance to be left unlocked to allow access from the first snowfall until April 15th or until such time as snow and ice conditions have melted. And further, that the council approve township-owned dog parks being identified as not maintained and used at the owner's own risk during this period. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Brick, seconded by Councillor Herget. Does the director have a report he'd like to bring forward?
Sure, thanks, Councillor Wagner. Everything is pretty much there in the recommendation. This just does align the maintenance of the dog parks with our current winter maintenance practices at the remainder of the township parks, where they are not maintained in the winter, but they're not closed for public use. So this just aligns this with the other policy.
You froze there, Danny. We didn't catch your first comment there.
Sorry, is that better?
Goes again.
Can we get you to start over, Danny, and hopefully we won't have a freeze up this time?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, like I said, the report pretty much states what the recommendation is. Everything's there. It just kind of aligns the dog park maintenance, winter maintenance, with our other parks in the municipality where they're not closed, but they're not winter maintained. So it's use at your own risk. And then just to note that there could be times that the dog park and all parks could be not accessible due to snow and ice in the winter months. That's all I have. I'll take any questions.
Thanks. Are there any questions for Danny?
No, so I think one of the issues here would be a liability issue. I think I noticed that the Wellesley Dog Park right now, if you walk through the front gate, there's significant amount of ice build up there. I mean, the doors are still functional, but so I would imagine one of the rationale or some of the rationale for this is to sort of mitigate some liability in case somebody fell through that ice or slipped on that ice, which is I think it's a good policy from that perspective. I don't think it has cost. We've had a few times over the past, November, December, where there was a lot of snow happening in November and December, more than I think what I considered normal, other than when I was a kid, because they used to have snowfalls like that. I think there's only 2 or 3 times where staff went in there and cleaned that snow out. So you're saying that that's not going to happen anymore?
That's what the recommendation is, correct?
Which would make the dog park totally inaccessible. That's possible at those times. You know, there's an awful lot of folks that use those dog parks. And for the amount of time and effort it takes to go in there and shovel some of that snow away after a heavy snowfall, I think it would be worthwhile to continue. I mean, that's what's happened over the last 2 months, and there doesn't seem to be hasn't been a significant amount of staff time, I don't believe. So that's my feeling. I mean, if the dog park is not accessible, the dogs are going to be running in the ball diamonds and the soccer fields, and they're going to be covered with dog droppings. So those are my thoughts on that. I don't know if there's a way of doing it. I wouldn't want to try, you know, sort of hire a third party to come in and do that work, but I can't see why we couldn't just send somebody, one of our staff down after heavy snowfall and have a look. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to clear one of them up. My thoughts. I don't know what the rest of council thinks.
Lori, do you actually have your hand up for this discussion, or?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Danny, what's the purpose in locking all the gates if you have up, if you're leaving one open, why are you locking the other gates? I wasn't understanding the rationale behind that.
The rationale behind that is just to keep the entrance to one localized spot. The other gates are, when they're used in the winter months, if they get
I'll maybe
jammed,
jump in here since Danny's freezing up. What happened at the Wellesley Park this year was when that snow were in a stuck position of being partially open. Users were going in, letting their dog go, and it would run to the other gate and take off. So by having those other gates physically closed, that they can't be opened, that prevents that piece, and at least the owner of that dog can control their dog at the gate where they've walked in.
And I just add to that it worked very well. That works very well in Wellesley. Once those gates are left open, the problem is they freeze in place, and it's almost impossible to move them after that. So I think that was a good part of the policy. So. Anyway,
Derek?
Oh, I'm sorry. Aaron.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Danny, thanks for this. I think it's a challenge, and I understand the liability and where we're going with closing for the winter season. I'm wondering, kind of similar to Mayor Nowak, if there's a way to call it not winter maintained, but in the event of a heavy snowfall, having staff go and address a single entry point at a minimal cost, I'll call it the staff time. And maybe we look at putting a shovel and a sand bin at the doors. I think the users there, for the cost of a $15 shovel, if you do that a couple times, sometimes you get pretty good success of the users helping as well. So I think I've got an interest in trying to still help the users and keep it open, similar to Councillor Nowak's comments, but I do understand closing it for that period of time from a liability standpoint. So.
Any other discussion?
I'm just wondering, and I haven't talked to Danny about this, but one of the main concerns, of course, was when the snow hits, our priorities are not getting the dog park cleared, because that's not our spot where we're going to have trips and falls typically, right? We have to make sure the roads and parking lots are cleared, and then all the sidewalks leading up to facilities, things like that. That would be priority one. So maybe this is a matter of approving the policy as it is, but with direction to staff to clear that main entrance gate when possible. And I think I like the idea of Councillor Brick of having a sand or salt bin there, and we can try putting a shovel out, and if they grow legs too often, well, we'll change that procedure as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
Mayor Nowak?
if I may, no, I think that's a good, I've talked to dog users or people with dogs that are in the park. And I know a few of them, if there's a shovel there, I know a few of them that would do the shoveling themselves if staff weren't around to do it. So I like that idea of having a shovel there. If somebody walks away with it, it's not a big investment. So I appreciate that. And that staff direction.
Yeah, I think staff direction for that piece would be sufficient, and passing the recommendation would help us to limit that liability exposure.
Counselor Seven?
I just want to say I like that idea as well. I think Wellesley Dog Park is a little different area than Linwood. And I don't know, Danny, if you want to confirm, but the Linwood Dog Park gets blown in quite regularly. As soon as the snow flies, it seems to gather on the gate. So I'm not sure that that's going to be an option for Linwood, but I mean, we can try it and see if somebody wants to dig out the main gate. I personally, when I walk back there, right now it was about 6 feet, I would have to say, in front of the gate. So I wouldn't have attempted it, but maybe there's somebody out there that would have liked to try it. So it's worth a shot, I guess.
Thanks, Lori. We did miss, I believe, some of what you said because unfortunately the internet froze again, but I think we know the gist of where you are going. So is there any other discussion? So do we need to change anything, Amy, with it?
No, you can go ahead and vote on the motion as is
Mhm.
with direction to staff to monitor one entrance to the dog park, along with leaving a shovel and salt or sand bin in the location.
Okay. Lori doesn't have any. I'll call the recommendation. So the recommendation, all in favor of the recommendation. Carried unanimously with the direction. Thank you.
Okay. Now need a motion that the committee of the whole rise, council resume and report, moved by Councillor Erga, second by Councillor Brick. All in favor, and that's carried. A motion that the report of the committee of the whole be adopted as set forth in the motions and actions detailed above, moved by Councillor Wagner, second by Councillor Brick. All in favor, and that's carried. For information, accounts, unfinished business, new business, CEO report.
Thank you, Mayor. The Roma conference is starting this coming Sunday in Toronto. I will be attending that along with Mayor Nowak and Councillor Brick. And we do have a delegation that we're attending with the Ministry of Agriculture, and that is for fall fair funding. We were not able to get a delegation with the Ministry of Infrastructure, but they have offered us a virtual meeting after the conference, and that's related to growth-related infrastructure funding specific to rural areas. We're also going to be doing joint delegations with the other 3 townships in the region, one to the Ministry of Rural Affairs, that's regarding the Rural Investment Readiness Strategy, one with Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, that's spheres of jurisdiction under the Municipal Act. And then we're meeting with both the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Infrastructure, and that's on funding tailored to municipalities under 50,000 population to recognize our smaller size. And lastly, meeting with the Ministry of Transportation, and that's on the Ontario Transit Investment Fund, and that will include the region, and that's for the rural transit funding application that they've submitted. Plans are still progressing for the health center attached to the Linwood Community Center, and that would be with the Woolwich Community Health Center operating that. This would be a smaller scale operation similar to the facility at the recreation complex and provide improved health services to residents in the Linwood area. So we're still hoping for a carry forward and possibly still a winter start on that. And lastly, Camp All I Want to Do will be running summer camps again at the rec complex, and summer registration will be opening at the end of January. So happy to take any questions for council.
I have one question. the camp, All I Want to Do, how was it considered successful last year? That was the first year, wasn't it?
Last year was the first year and it was considered successful. The president of Camp All I Want to Do was very pleased with the registration numbers. And they're expecting those numbers to be higher this year. The numbers did go up through the summer as people found out about the camps and how well they were being run. So they're expecting bigger numbers again this year.
That's good.
And they're actually adding 1 week. They're doing the August long weekend week. So it's a 4-day week, which they did not do last year.
Good to hear. Good. Okay, any other questions? Let's see. Okay, so we have some bylaws to deal with. Recommendation bylaw 1, 2, 3, 4 of 2026 be read a first and second time. Moved by Councillor Wagner, seconded by Councillor Brick, all in favor. Carried. The bylaw, the same bylaw. Oh no, we have something here. 28, 2025, 1, 2, 3, 4 be read a third time and passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and seal the bylaw under the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Brick, second by Councillor Herget, all in favor. And that's carried. Next meeting, I was wondering about, you have the second meeting, council meeting, March 10th. Is that correct?
Well, that should be February 10th.
Thought so. Okay. Maybe the whole January 27th, council meeting, February 10th and February 24th for committee of the whole. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Wagner, all in favor, and that's carried.